Welcome, scaredy cats. Today we share the spookiest, creepiest, and scariest stories from all around the world. In this video, we have gathered some of the most bone-chilling night shift stories that are sure to give you goosebumps. So, grab some popcorn, turn off the lights, and get ready to be scared. Story 1. The Whistler. One night, while patrolling the building, he heard a strange whistling sound coming from one of the empty offices. Thinking it was a janitor, he went to investigate. However, when he got to the office, he found that it was completely empty. As he turned to leave, the whistling started again, this time louder and closer. The security guard turned around and saw a figure standing in the darkness, whistling a tune. The guard was so scared that he ran out of the building and never returned to work the night shift again. Story 2. The Lost Girl. One night, while taking a break in the hospital courtyard, she saw a young girl in a white dress wandering around the garden. The nurse went to check on the girl, but when she got closer, the girl disappeared. Thinking it was a trick of the light, the nurse went back to work. However, when she came back to the courtyard later that night, she saw the same girl in the same white dress. This time, the girl asked the nurse for help finding her parents. The nurse agreed and started to look for the girl's parents, but after searching for hours, she realized that the girl was a ghost who had died in the hospital many years ago. Story 3. The Man in the Parking Lot. One night, while patrolling the parking lot, he saw a man standing next to a car with his back towards him. The guard approached the man and asked if he needed any help. However, when the man turned around, the guard saw that he had no face. The guard was so terrified that he ran back to his security office and called the police. When the police arrived, they found no trace of the man or the car he was standing next to. Story 4. The Man in the Mirror. One night, while doing his rounds, he noticed something strange in the mirror of one of the exhibits. When he turned around to investigate, he saw a man standing behind him. The guard was startled, but when he looked back at the mirror, the man was nowhere to be seen. The guard quickly left the exhibit, but he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following him. As he made his way back to his security office, he heard footsteps following him, but every time he turned around, there was no one there. When he got to his office, he locked the door, and as he looked out the window, he saw the same man from the exhibit standing outside, staring back at him. Story 5. The Lost Child. One night, while doing her rounds, she heard a child crying. She followed the sound and found a little girl standing in the hallway. The nurse asked the girl what was wrong, but the girl didn't answer. Instead, she just stared at the nurse with an eerie smile on her face. The nurse felt uneasy and decided to take the girl back to her room. As they walked, the nurse looked down at the girl's feet and saw that they were hovering above the ground. The nurse screamed and dropped the girl, and when she looked back up, the girl had vanished. Story 6. The Phantom Driver. One night, while driving down a deserted road, the driver saw a woman in white standing on the side of the road, waving for a ride. The driver stopped and asked the woman where she needed to go. The woman gave an address, and the driver started driving towards it. However, as they drove, the woman grew silent, and when the driver turned to check on her, she was gone. The driver was confused and thought he had been pranked, but when he reached the address the woman had given him, he found an abandoned house with a gravestone in the front yard that had the same name as the woman. Story 7. The Eerie Laugh. One night, while doing his rounds, he heard a strange and eerie laugh echoing through the halls. The guard searched the entire warehouse, but he couldn't find anyone. He brushed it off and continued his rounds. However, as he made his way back to his office, he heard the laughter again. This time, it was louder and closer. The guard turned around and saw a figure standing in the shadows, but as he approached it, it vanished into thin air. The guard quit his job the next day and never went back to that warehouse. Story 8. The Whispering Voices. One night, while checking on the patients, she heard whispers coming from one of the rooms. The nurse went to investigate and found an empty room. However, as she left, the whispers started again. The nurse followed the whispers to another room, but again, she found nothing. The whispers continued throughout the night, and the nurse started to feel a sense of dread. As she was leaving the hospital in the morning, she saw an old man sitting in a wheelchair. He looked at her and whispered, "Don't come back here." Story 9. The Faceless Man. One night, while cleaning one of the floors, he saw a man in the corner of his eye. When he turned to look at the man, he saw that he had no face. The janitor was frightened, but he tried to convince himself that he was just tired and his mind was playing tricks on him. However, as he continued his work, he saw the faceless man again and again. The janitor quit his job the next day and never went back to that building. Story 10. The Lonely Hotel. One night, as the receptionist was sitting at the desk, she heard footsteps coming from the hallway. She looked up, but there was no one there. She assumed it was just her imagination and went back to her work. However, the footsteps grew louder, and she began to hear strange whispers and creaking noises. She decided to investigate and went down the hallway, but every room she passed was empty. She started to feel uneasy and returned to the front desk. But as she sat there, she heard a voice whispering her name. She looked up and saw a figure standing in the doorway. The figure was tall and shadowy, with no discernible features. The receptionist froze, unable to move or speak. The figure slowly started to move towards her, and she could feel a chill run down her spine. The figure stopped just a few inches from her and then vanished into thin air. The receptionist was left shaken and terrified. She had never believed in ghosts or the paranormal, but that night had changed everything for her. She quit her job the next day and never went back to the hotel again. So, there you have it, folks. Some of the spookiest night shift stories that are sure to keep you up all night. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any stories of your own, please feel free to share them in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get updates on our future videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and one more thing before we go. If you work the night shift, always be on the lookout for anything unusual or strange. It's easy to dismiss strange noises or sightings as just your imagination, but sometimes it could be something more. And if you ever feel unsafe or scared, don't hesitate to call for help. Stay safe and sweet dreams. Or should we say, nightmares. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.